I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to second-guess everything, but lately, something didn't sit right with me. It started off small, little things like her being a bit more distant than usual. At first, I brushed it off as just work stress, but as time went on, I started picking up on things that didn't add up. Her phone. She'd always leave it face down or in another room when she wasn't around. I tried not to be the guy who snoops, but my mind kept wandering to places I didn't want it to. I noticed she was taking longer on errands, or girls' nights out. Not that I was tracking her, but when she said she was going to meet friends for drinks, it didn't make sense for her to be out that late for a simple hangout. Still, I trusted her, at least I thought I did. It was one night, though, when everything clicked into place. I was at work, just finishing up a project, when I bumped into an old buddy of mine, Tom. We started talking about life, the usual stuff, and somehow he brought up that his wife had gone to a wild party the weekend before. Yeah, man, my wife went to this party, and they always tell us it's just girls being girls. But I gotta say, some of the stories she told me were weird. A little too weird for my liking, he said with a grin. It was obvious he wasn't that fazed, but the way he spoke made my stomach tighten. Something about it bugged me. I didn't want to bring it up with him. I mean, it wasn't really my place, but a seed had been planted in my head. What if it was the same party my wife had been going to? When I got home that night, I casually asked her, "So, you went out again with your friends last weekend?" She didn't seem too thrown off by the question, which I guess is a good sign. She shrugged and said, "Yeah, just a couple of girls from work. It's nothing big." But something in the way she said it didn't sound right, and the "nothing big" part felt forced, like she was trying to convince herself as much as she was trying to convince me. It was too rehearsed, and perfect. For the next few days I thought about it more than I should have. I knew I was overthinking. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I wasn't some kind of paranoid wreck, but it felt like she was hiding something. A small part of me, a part I hated, started wondering if she was seeing someone else. I knew that to figure this out, I had to be smart, and I wasn't about to confront her without solid proof. If I was wrong, I'd look like a total idiot. But if I was right, I needed to know. And I started to keep track of things more closely. I paid attention to her schedule, and I started hearing little rumors from mutual friends, mostly in passing. "Oh, I heard your wife's been out a lot lately. Having fun, huh?" One person said that in front of me. It was said with a knowing smile. I couldn't tell if they were hinting at something or just messing around, and the feeling inside me grew stronger and stronger. I started to feel like I was losing my grip on reality. I trusted her. We had a solid marriage, and no real issues. But in the back of my head, all I could hear was that damn voice saying, "What if something's going on?" I didn't want to believe it. And I wanted to chalk it all up to paranoia. Maybe she was just stressed, or maybe I was just being insecure. But the longer I went without asking her outright, the more unsure I became. It got to the point where I couldn't ignore it anymore, and the questions kept piling up in my head, and I had to figure out if I was just being a fool or if there was something more. So I came up with a plan, and I didn't want to confront her head on, at least not yet. I needed to know what she was really up to. If she was hiding something, I needed to see it for myself. But I had to be careful. I couldn't let her know what I was thinking, or she'd just play it cool and cover her tracks. I didn't know what to expect, but I was going to find out. It didn't take long before I knew when she'd be out again. The weekend was approaching, and she mentioned another girls' night out. Her friends from work were coming over to pick her up around 8 p.m. I didn't question it, but I made sure I had everything in place. I didn't want to seem obvious. I didn't want to be the guy who stalks his wife or spies on her. But the thought of her slipping away into some lie made me sick. I had to know. The first step was simple. I got some info from a mutual friend of ours. One of her coworkers, Sarah, casually mentioned she was going to the same party my wife was headed to. She didn't know I was onto anything yet, and so it was easy to get it out of her. "You guys always do the same thing when you're out, huh?" I asked. Sarah didn't seem suspicious. She was just being friendly. "Yeah, just a chill night out. Nothing wild, nothing wild." That's what they all said. But what if this time it was wild? By the time I was getting ready to leave, I had all the information I needed. The address, the time, and a strange feeling gnawing at me. I didn't go straight to the location. I didn't want to just pop up at the house and look like an idiot. No, and I parked a few blocks away and waited. My heart was racing, but I kept telling myself that I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just making sure my suspicions weren't true. I checked the time, 8:30 p.m. It was getting close. I saw her car pull out of the driveway, and I waited a bit longer, then followed. This wasn't something I was proud of. I didn't want to be the type of guy who checks up on his wife, but the doubt had crept in. There was no going back now. The drive to the party wasn't long. My heart was pounding in my chest the entire time. I parked a couple of streets down from where she'd gone, just out of sight. But I could see her walking into a house, and she didn't even look back. Something about that struck me. She wasn't even trying to cover it. That's when the pit in my stomach deepened. I had a feeling I wasn't going to like what I found out next. But I couldn't stop now. I had to know. I couldn't just sit there, and I couldn't turn back. Every instinct in me told me that this was the moment I'd either confirm my worst fears or realize I was being a complete fool. But my gut was screaming at me, and I couldn't ignore it. I needed answers. I stayed parked for a while watching. From the angle I was at, I could see her walking up to the front door, laughing with a couple of women I didn't recognize. She was at ease, smiling, too easily. I couldn't help but wonder how much of that smile was real, how much of it was just an act. I don't know why, but I kept staring at her, and it felt like watching a completely different person. After a few minutes, I saw a guy step out onto the porch. He had a beer in his hand, and the two of them exchanged some casual words. Nothing too flirty, nothing obvious, but the way they spoke, it was familiar. More familiar than what I'd expect from a random guy. She was laughing again. The whole scene felt so normal, but something in the back of my mind kept buzzing, urging me to go closer, to know more. I pulled myself together and got out of the car. I didn't want to seem like I was snooping too obviously, so I stayed a good distance away, keeping out of sight but still in range. And I walked around the block and then circled back toward the house, where I could hear music and voices through the open windows. I was being reckless. I knew that. But I couldn't help myself. I was already too deep into this, and I wasn't going to leave without some answers. I had to figure out what was really going on inside that house. I crept up to the side of the house, keeping low, just trying to hear what was happening inside. The sound of the music drowned out most of the voices, but I could still catch bits of laughter, and then I heard her voice. It wasn't clear, but I could make out the tone. She was enjoying herself. Too much. Then, a sound that made my blood run cold, her laughter mixed with someone else's. It was that guy, the one I'd seen on the porch earlier. They were laughing together, but this time it wasn't a friendly laugh. The way they were speaking to each other, it was like they had known each other for years. The energy between them wasn't that of strangers or casual friends. It was too comfortable, too intimate. At that moment, something shifted in me. I don't even know how to explain it. It was like a switch flipped, and everything I'd been trying to ignore came crashing down. I wanted to barge in, demand answers, but I couldn't. Not yet. I stepped back, and walking quietly to the corner of the house where I had a better view of the front yard. My eyes locked onto her car, parked by the front gate. I stayed there, hands shaking, trying to decide what to do next. Minutes passed, but it felt like hours. Then I saw her again, and walking towards the back of the house, still laughing, with that guy by her side. She looked over her shoulder, glancing back at the house, and for the briefest second our eyes met. Though she didn't know I was there. My stomach dropped. I watched them disappear into the house, and that was when I knew. It wasn't just a party. It wasn't some innocent girls' night out. She was hiding something. Something much bigger than I'd ever imagined. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I wasn't stupid. I had to think this through. I had to let it all sink in. I was pacing back and forth now, my mind spinning with 1,000 questions, and none of them having easy answers. My heart was racing, and the mix of anger, disbelief, and heartbreak was overwhelming. But I wasn't going to make a scene. I wasn't going to cause a spectacle. If I was right, I needed more than just a glimpse of them together to confirm what was happening. I had to see it all. And that meant staying put, no matter how much it killed me to watch this unfold. I spent the next hour standing there, trying to make sense of the feelings swirling inside me. I wanted to confront her, but I knew I had to get the full picture before I did anything rash. I didn't want to be that guy, and the one who jumps to conclusions without understanding the whole story. Then I saw something that made me stop dead in my tracks. She came back outside, but this time she wasn't alone. That guy, the one I had seen on the porch earlier, was walking behind her, a little too close, and their bodies almost touching. He leaned in and said something to her, and she responded. I couldn't hear the words, but the way she looked at him, the way she smiled made my blood boil. They were so comfortable, too comfortable. Then it happened. He kissed her. And not just a friendly peck on the cheek, but a real kiss. A kiss that said everything. It was an intimate, slow kiss. The kind of kiss you give someone when you've shared something far beyond friendship. My world crashed. I stood frozen, unable to move. And everything I thought I knew about her, about us, was shattered in that instant. This wasn't just a flirtation. This wasn't some innocent moment. She was cheating on me. I didn't know what to do. My mind was reeling. My emotions were all over the place. A part of me wanted to scream at her and confront her right there, but I didn't. I couldn't. Not in that moment. I stood there in silence for what felt like forever. Finally, I turned and walked away. The man I was in that moment, angry, broken, betrayed, wasn't someone I recognized. But I had to leave. And I had to get out of there before I did something I'd regret. As I drove away, the weight of what I had just seen settled in. I kept seeing their kiss in my mind. I couldn't unsee it. I couldn't shake it off. I thought about her, about the life we had built together, and wondered how much of it had been real. Was any of it real? Or was I just the guy who'd been in the dark and fooled by a woman who had been lying to me all along? All I knew in that moment was that nothing was ever going to be the same again. The person I loved, the person I thought I knew, had just shattered everything. And now, it was time to face the truth. But I wasn't sure if I was ready. I don't know how I got home that night. Everything felt like a blur, like I was watching it all from the outside, disconnected from reality. But eventually, I made it back. I walked through the door, feeling like a stranger in my own house. And the place we had built together. The kitchen, the living room, the small things that were supposed to remind me of who we were, suddenly felt cold. Alien. I didn't know what to do next. Part of me wanted to confront her immediately, scream at her, make her admit everything right then and there. But I knew better than that. If I lost control, if I let my emotions take over, it would all be for nothing. She would shut down, deny everything, and we'd go in circles. No, I needed to approach this the right way, and it had to be done on my terms. I sat on the couch, waiting for her to come home. The clock ticked louder than ever in the silence. I kept thinking about what I'd seen, her laughing with that guy, and the way he touched her, the kiss. It was all still so vivid, like it had just happened, even though hours had passed. I didn't know how long I could keep it together. My stomach was in knots. I had never felt so betrayed in my life. When she finally walked through the door, it hit me all over again. She smiled when she saw me, like she always did when she came home after a night out, but this time it felt different. That smile, it didn't reach her eyes. It was rehearsed, forced. She knew something was off, even though she had no idea that I knew the truth. She put her purse down and looked at me. "Hey, you're still up. I didn't expect you to be awake," she said, almost like she was trying to sound casual. I didn't respond immediately. I just stood up and walked towards her, my chest tight with rage, hurt, and disbelief. I wasn't sure if I was going to break down or explode, but I knew I had to ask the question. The question that had been haunting me all night. Who was that guy? My voice was steady, but the anger underneath it was undeniable. She froze for a second, her eyes widening just slightly. "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb," I said, trying to keep my voice controlled. I saw you kiss him. You're not fooling me." The blood drained from her face. For a moment, she didn't say anything. Her mouth opened and closed, like she was trying to form the words but couldn't find them. I watched her, waiting for some kind of explanation, some kind of truth. But deep down, I knew what was coming. "Look, it's not what you think," she finally said, her voice soft, almost pleading. "I didn't mean for this to happen. It was just one night. One night." I laughed, the sound bitter in my ears. "You don't get to do this, to lie to me like this. You kissed him. And you think on night makes it okay. What the hell, Anna? What was that about?" Her eyes filled with tears, and I almost didn't know what to do. For a split second I almost felt guilty. Almost. "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice cracking. "I didn't plan for it to happen. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I was trying to find something that was missing in our relationship, and when I met him, it felt like I was alive again. And I didn't mean for it to go this far. I swear it was just a kiss, just one kiss, and I swear I wasn't planning on seeing him again." "Is that supposed to make me feel better?" I snapped, the anger boiling over now. "That you were bored with me. That you needed someone else to feel alive. So what am I? Just a backup. And just the guy you fall back on when your little affair doesn't give you the excitement you want." She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. "No, that's not what it is. I'm sorry, okay, I messed up. I fucked up. But I never stopped loving you, and I never wanted to hurt you. I don't know if I can believe you anymore," I said quietly, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. "And I saw everything, Anna. I saw you with him, laughing, touching him, and kissing him. How am I supposed to go on like this?" Her face crumpled, and she collapsed onto the couch. She was crying now, shaking. "I never wanted you to find out like this. I didn't want to hurt you. But I couldn't handle what I was feeling. I felt like we were drifting apart, and I was too scared to talk about it with you. And I thought this would be a way out, a way to feel something again, but it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth losing you." I stood there, trying to process it all, trying to figure out where we went wrong. But the truth was, I didn't know how we got here. I didn't know how to fix it. And the thought of us, whatever, us, was suffocating. I felt like I was drowning. "Anna," I started, my voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know if I can forgive you for this. I don't even know if I can look at you the same way after what I saw." "I understand," she said, and still crying. "I deserve that. I deserve all of it. But please don't give up on us. Please. I'll do anything." I just stood there numb. I had so many emotions running through me, but the one that stood out the most was confusion. I didn't know where we went wrong, and I didn't know if I was supposed to just move on or if there was something worth saving. "I don't know if I can do this anymore," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "You betrayed me. I don't know if I can just forget what I saw. I don't know if I can forget the way you made me feel. Like I wasn't enough." "I never meant to make you feel that way," she whispered. "I never wanted to hurt you." I wanted to say something else, but I couldn't. I couldn't find the words. I turned and walked out of the room, and feeling like my world had just been ripped apart. I didn't know what the future held for us, but I knew this much, and nothing was going to be the same after tonight. As I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't stop thinking about everything she had said, everything I had seen. I didn't know if I wanted to forgive her, if I could ever look at her the same way. But what hurt the most, what really cut deep, and was the fact that I didn't know who she really was anymore. And I didn't know who I was either. Because the man who had trusted her, and who thought their marriage was unbreakable, was now just a stranger to himself. I didn't have the answers. But I knew one thing. The road ahead was going to be long, and I wasn't sure where it would lead. But whatever happened, I couldn't let it go.